Hello, I'm Martha Glennie, jewelry professor at George Brown College in Toronto. My videos look at different jewelry forms, items. I'm offering tips, tools, and suggestions that work for me. I'd like to show you an option in the Rotary tool family, an option to filing the inside of a ring shank with a regular ring file. So we're going to put that aside, and what we're going to look at are rotary files. So let's take a little closer look at that. I've got two rotary files here, a small size that fits in the flex shaft handle, and a very large one that will fit on your lathe, but only if your lathe has a Jacob's chuck. You can see the size of the mandrel. We have to have a chuck that's going to hold that. Now I prefer to use this one at the lathe as opposed to the smaller one in the flex shaft. And here's the reason. When I'm using it at the lathe, I can use two hands to hold it, so I can make sure that it stays parallel. When I'm doing it here, often what we do is we hold the ring steady and we move this piece. And there is an opportunity for me to do this, which I don't want to do. Because, I mean, if you look at it, it looks pretty aggressive, doesn't it? And in point of fact, it is aggressive. And that's why we like it, because it does the work quickly. But that's also why it's a little bit of a danger to our pieces. Well, and if not to our fingers. So let's take care, and we'll give this a go, and we'll use this narrow ring. Where I find these, and particularly this one, of most benefit is for doing wider ring shanks that are, take time to file with my hand file, whereas a narrow ring like this doesn't really take very long. I'm going to make sure that I will put on my safety glasses over top here. So I'm going to hold this. And I'm going to you can see that I've got the ring securely held, and I'm going to bring my thumb up to this so that I've really got one unit. And that's going to help me stay level and true. So let's get this going. You don't want to go too slowly. If you go too slowly, it's more apt to catch. You'll also feel that it wants to work in this downward direction. It doesn't really want to work in the upward direction because of how the flutes are cut. But there you go. Look at that. Twice around that ring, and I've taken it down probably about 80% to where it needs to be. I might do a little bit more back here. And I don't really want to take it down 100% flat because this makes quite coarse lines. And so by the time I take this to sanding, it will have gotten rid of those deep lines and that little depression. Okay? So I know these are a little scary to think about using, but they really are a very time-saving tool. And if you're lucky enough that your lathe has a Jacob's chuck, then I say go for this one. So we filed the inside with a rotary tool, and now we want to think about sanding the inside with a rotary tool. And we have several options. Just let me bring them over here. So we're thinking about sanding now, removing the file marks. And our options are, let's see, we have sanding bands. You see that? This is a mandrel that has a rubber drum. And when you turn that screw, it compresses the rubber drum, which makes it come out this way, and it holds that on. So these come, you can see these are color coded. They come in a variety of colors. And these really take the place of our split mandrel, which is what you see here. We put a little bit of sandpaper on there and twist it up. And pluses and minuses, well, the plus is that they're quick, they're different grits, you just put it right on. The minus is that these tend to be a lot more expensive than just using a little piece of paper. And if you know anything about my tips and tricks, it is that my suggestion is always to sand the interior at the polishing lathe. It will do a quicker, better job. But certain circumstances could be, like for instance, if you needed to polish the inside of something that was this big, well, that is smaller than our split mandrel at the lathe. Anyway, let's give these a try. Now I have to change my handpiece because this mandrel won't fit in my quick change handpiece. There we go. Let's get set up. And this is quite a coarse one. And really, these are identified by grit. They come in a little box and they have all these different things. But really, we can just feel them, right? Let's take this one. And I'm going to set up exactly the same way. This one we don't have to worry about, because it's sandpaper, we don't have to worry that it's cutting better in one direction than another direction. And I'm moving it, I never stay still. I'm going to turn the ring around just in case I have some bias where I'm angling it. There we go. And I know it's doing some work because the ring is getting warm. So I would just go until this one is fully done, this grit, and then I would change to the finer grit and go ahead again. And then if I had something smaller, let's take a look at, now this is not a quick change one, so you'll have to give me a minute here to get things organized. I'm thinking, for instance, that this one, now I'm going to switch over and hold this like a pencil, and this one would do inside here very nicely, and certainly much faster than if I had file over a needle file. And I can get that right up to a very fine sanding. So that is the story about sanding bands. I want to go back to my other. Oh, that's right. I put this one on here. Let's see. Can we see a real nice little close-up there? So this one is like regular sandpaper. I can feel the grit. But can you see this one? It has like hash marks across it. Well, those are all little pyramids of abrasive material. So you're not riding on the whole surface. You're just riding on the top of those little. It's just a different type. Abrasive companies, and in particular 3M, come out with new products all the time. Sometimes they're a lot better, and sometimes they're just a new product. These are silicone drums for use with ring shanks. And it's 3 different coarseness. And to tell you that you can see, these are mine. I've used them. But I tend to use them only with a narrow shank, like this, because they just aren't as fast as using the split mandrel at the lathe. But there you can see it's doing quite a nice fine job on there of bringing it up to a luster. If we go to something that has a lot more width, they just take a lot of time. So there we go. Take these off. So I've shown you quite an array of rotary tools, all the way from our sanding discs and our radial wheels, silicone wheels, rotary files, sanding bands. It opens up a whole other area for you to explore and play with, and used for the right form with the right circumstance, they can be really effective to bringing something up to a really beautiful mirror finish.